Today we're going to go through the Flame Mastery as mentioned. So Flame Mastery, as the young mentioned just now, very basic. Most of it is just damage, AoE, does fire stuff, burning people. But what exactly does that look like within Aeons of Adventure, right? So let's get started. Okay. Alright. And so, same as last time, we'll go through like a little bit of a description. These are snippets from within the book of the rulebook itself. So they talk a little bit about what exactly these masteries are, what are the skills that are available, and there are always 5 skills for the basic set, and what are some possible combinations that we have here. Alright, so the description here is like, transform your fire into a weapon of relentless destruction by conjuring flames with a flick of a finger and eyes blazing with ember as you channel torrents of fiery searing bolts, or engulf them in roaring infernos. Alright, so compared to blade arts, right? What is one of the core differences between like magical masteries and martial masteries?
So one of the main differences is basically it is expected, right? Which is blade arts is more melee focus and stuff like that, and magic is more like range and stuff like that. In flame mastery case, it's more like range focus. We do not have spell slots.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have spell slots.
So
we have SP.
Correct. So it's effectively it kind of function because it uses SP and not like there's a secondary or in certain case tertiary resources. It works the same way as actually blade arts actually.
Yeah. Oh well, to add on to that, it's not just blade arts. It works the same as all skills within AoE, right? So all skills will look something kind of like this for active skills, right? So you have a skill type at the top left. For this one, this is a technique skill. The top right is the stamina point cost. Their names, their tags, the mastery type, and then the effect of the skill at the bottom, including what it requires in terms of the weapon and some other minute conditions, right? So in all the magic masteries case, right, one of the core differences between magical masteries and martial masteries is that all martial masteries use a stat that is dependent on their weapon, right? So in the case of blade arts, your blade might use might, it might use dexterity, but in the case of magical masteries, you use a fixed stat. So in this case, flame uses affinity. So affinity is one of our 5 core attributes. It replaces traditionally intelligence and wisdom, and it is the core stat that you use when you cast fire spells, right? So flame spells, when you roll to hit, determining the difficulty, your enemy has to roll to avoid your flame spell, and so on and so forth, right? So in this case, it's affinity as written inside the description. So right there it says that the core attribute of flame is affinity and requires a focus to be equipped when you use flame spells. So it's the equivalent of the weapon for the flame mastery, right? And so we have 5 skills here, similar to blade arts. You will see that you have all 5 skills and the flame ranks go down continuously. But in flame mastery's case, they all seem to be increasing. There's no like same rank skills here.
Yes.
Right. So what's the rationale behind this?
It's because so bring back a bit, right? So based on designing, right? So when we design like certain skills, we judge them based on like how powerful they be, as well as like how strong it will be at certain levels. So with designating it in a higher level, right? Naturally, it will be slightly stronger than what you expect it at, like, for example, like a similar skill at like a lower level. But that's also something that we're avoiding in that you have this kind of similarity. So like you wouldn't have like in this case you'd be like firebolt and then you will have like firebolt 2. We will not we are currently planning not to do any of that because then it defeats the whole investment point of it lah. Yeah.
On top of that, because flame is a more I'll go as far as to say it's the most basic mastery that we have for casters in the basic set, right? So if you just want to play, I am a blaster, I'm a wizard, I shoot things at people, right? Flame Mastery is D1 for you, right? So you can just ignore pretty much all of the other masteries and just go full down flame, just go all 5 skills, right? And you'll be able to spend all 5 of your, let's see. So in the basic set, it goes up to 7 points. So you have 1 point out at the end, right? And so yeah, that is what the skills, the skill spread looks like. We'll go through the actual details of the skills later, right? So before that, let's move on to what are some suggestions that we have here. So similar to Blade Arts, the suggestions here are, well, suggestions, right? They're meant to show you like what are some possible combinations that you could have based on the different masteries to create an example like class fantasy. So in this case, the first one here is the Pyromancer, which is your traditional fire wizard. He wears robes, he's just blasting spells and swinging it back forth, right? So cloth armor has a skill that allows you to borrow your stamina from the future, which is your next round, and then cast it first, but you don't gain it back in the next round, right? So that's one of the reasons why we use cloth armor here. And the second one we have here is the soul shot, which is kind of like this flame enchanted bow wielding kind of archer, right? Where you buff up your bow, and then you put a mark on the person, and then you shoot your volley of arrows to nuke him and do like a large amount of damage, right? So there's 2 examples of the possibilities that you can have here. We won't go through like the archer skills here, so you can stay tuned for that if you want to see what the actual combinations are, right? So is there anything else to add before we jump on into the skills?
Outside of it just being, I mean, like what you say, like it's actually the most straightforward caster like magic skills, magic tree that we have right now. That is almost 90% true, correct? Because it's the most straightforward and like there's no weird sort of mechanics going on that you have to like do, and it's mostly quite clear. So I mean we'll in future episodes we'll talk about like the others, and then we can see like the differences there lah.
Yep. So stay tuned. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna hide that, and we are gonna jump on into our very first basic skill. So this is a skill that you pick up at level 0, which means that you have not spent any points in the Flame Mastery. You want to start your journey into being a fire wizard, and you want to learn the first skill. So your first skill will have to be Firebolt for the basic set, right? So what is Firebolt?
Simple, just throw a ball at you and you get hit.
Yeah.
Okay, so to visualize it, it's just like I'm just throwing like a smaller firebolt, but not necessarily smaller, but it's a firebolt that hits you and like deals a single target it's the single target spell lah.
It's a bolt of fire, right? You sling a bolt of fire, right? So if you're not familiar with the way that the damages and the stats work on our skill stat blocks, right? So the very first thing is the name, and then followed by properties of the skill type, the SP cost, the mastery level required, which is you can see on the left side as well the descriptions, the required weapon wielded, and then the MP cost, which is the mastery point cost. So this is how much you have to spend to learn the skill. And then the effect here, we have 3 effects. The first one is when you successfully use your skill. Second one is when you roll a natural 6 and you successfully use the skill. And the third one is when you roll 2 6s and you naturally will succeed in that case, right? And so in this case, okay, compared to the last time, right? Strike, yes, we're familiar. You roll a 2d6 against your enemy's evasion. Range, this is a range thing. Spell, what's the difference between a spell and not a spell?
It's just used to define the define the type of strike. So like we have like melee strikes, and like in the future we have range strikes, stuff like that. So magic strikes are usually classified as spell strikes. So this in the future, like not say in the future, but you might see some interaction with this where certain actions target specific like text. So example would be like, okay, this specific action targets like a spell usage. So like it might not be a spell strike, it might spell blast or whatever. So that is how we like do the categorization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the spell tag also serves two other additional purposes, which is the first one is that spells replace the weapon tag on your traditional martial classes. So the weapon tag determines like what is the stat, the attribute that you use on top of what is used to scale this martial attack. Whereas for the spell, the fact that it is a spell means that you have to know what your magical stat is, which is affinity, right? And the second effect is something called overcasting, long casting, sorry. But we won't get into that right now. We'll get into that later. So let's look at the effects of Firebolt, right? So it's a ranged spell, yes. 60 feet over there. So this is a fixed distance. That means you can go up to 60 feet and no more. After 60 feet, it just kind of fizzles out, right? It's a spell, which you use your focus and you use your affinity. And it's a strike, so you roll 2d6, right? And it deals 5 fire damage here, right? So you might have noticed that for... Where is it? This other card here. The damage is in red, right? So this little red health thing represents weapon damage. And because this card came from a martial mastery, which is the Crusher mastery, weapon damage scales to your weapon type. So if your weapon is fire damage, then this does fire damage. If it's physical, it does physical, etc. Right. However, when it comes to spells, the damage type is built into the spell for more spells, right? And so in this case, it is fire damage, 5 fire damage. So is there any difference between fire damage and normal damage as of now?
As of now, no, because I mean, when we go much further down, there might be resistance and stuff like that. So like basically the armor reduction for like specific elemental that magic damage type. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So there might be like in the future there might be like resistance to fire, stuff like that. Yeah. So that's why there's a categorization here. Yeah.
So for those who aren't familiar, we have a defense system, which is evasion and armor. So the evasion is your traditional AC, you roll against a target number, and armor reduces your damage by a flat amount, right? So in this case, even if you do 5 fire damage, right, armor still reduces this damage by whatever your armor is. And you will notice this is a trend with all magic, is that there is no armor penetration. So the numbers are a little bit higher on every single spell. Slightly, right? But there is resistance here and there. It's not as prevalent as some other systems, but they do exist. Yeah. So if you read the rulebook, we'll have resistances and vulnerabilities and stuff along those lines as well. And certain monsters in the basic set adventure. Alright. And so, okay, the first effect, we deal 5 damage. Very straightforward. What is burn?
So burn is actually this is our second mastery lah. So technically it's our first condition. It's
this is first condition.
It's the first condition, yeah. Because Blade Arts is
has no conditions at all.
Yeah.
I cut people, there's no conditions there. Conditions, you're dead.
Burning is our first condition that we're introducing here right now. So like the decision says, right, the burning. So burning is actually a condition that on every round you take damage. Right? So this damage is not taken on your turn, it's taken on the scene turn. So and this repeats until the burn gets removed.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we jump to that, what is a round and what is a scene turn?
So in the tradition, so in our system, right, we have a full turn. So in a turn you have multiple
full round.
Full round, you have multiple different turns. So you have your player turn, your DM turn or GM, and then you have your scene turn.
Yeah.
Correct. So scene turn is actually a way for us to express like what is going on in the battlefield and conditions and stuff like that. So like if you have a flood, then that is where the DM will explain to you like what's happening.
And so it is also when most conditions take place, right? So when you apply a condition, if the condition were to do something like every round, this is when it happens. It helps to kind of like consolidate and delete this weird thing where it's like, okay, like when exactly is this thing supposed to take effect every single round? Is it like on my turn, on the enemy turn, start of my turn, start of my enemy turn? Like all that's gone because all of it happens on the scene turn. So when you are burned, you will take that burn damage on application and on the scene turn, right? So as you can read here, it says a burning creature takes burn damage upon application and on the scene turn every round, equal to the strongest burn. So you don't stack burns. The highest one replaces whichever was the previous one, right? And it lasts indefinitely until you put it out or you die, right? I mean, your dead body can burn as well. And then the second point there is any creature can spend 1 SP, so 1 stamina point, on their turn to attempt to extinguish a fire with a CD7 challenge bracket dex. So there's a bit of jargon here. CD is a challenge difficulty, right? So this is your traditional difficulty check. It's your target number that you have to roll to meet or beat to accomplish this task. Challenge determines that you have to make a challenge roll, which is you roll 2d6, you add your stat. You can choose to use another stat if you like, if it makes sense. For example, let's just say I want to beat this fire out with my fist. Okay, it's like, okay, that's a bit of a stretch, but it's possible, right? Or I could conjure like some kind of like frost magic to remove it. So instead of casting an actual spell, you might make an affinity challenge roll instead, right? But the default is a dex. If you have no smart way to do it, it's dex. And then the second thing is the condition is also removed upon taking cold damage of any sort, right? So if you have a friend who's gonna like shoot you for a very small amount of cold damage and you're wearing armor, this might be the better solution for you, right? Because armor can fully mitigate the hit. But you have to take at least 1 damage. Yeah. So that is what burning means. And that means that Firebolt applies 1 burn, which is a permanent 1 damage around if you roll a 6. That's a great success. This has many implications. Burn damage is also a little unique. It's one of the forms of continuous damage, right? So similar to fall damage, all kinds of the diseases and stuff like that. They ignore armor, which means that this is basically 1 true fire damage unless the guy has resistance, right? So this starts to set up a little bit of a tone for fire, which is, I'm firing my spells, I'm setting people on fire, and it's like a mid-range kind of like damage deal where it's not crazy, but it's pretty good for a ranged character, and there's consistency to it, right? And the critical success here is I just do 2 more damage. So as a fire wizard, right, we're looking at someone who can set people on fire and deal pretty consistent range damage, right? Is there anything else you want to add to this spell?
So this is actually very in line with what we have previously said, which is we want to set like what the class and what the mastery is, the ideal of it at a very low level. So that's why Firebolt is designed this way, where you have like burn here already. So it sets up like what is fire and how it will progress in the future.
Yeah. So you see some of these trends where you have like true train, like kind of true lines of certain design spaces and philosophies that we're keeping to certain masteries, right? So blade arts, you get your multi-hits, your large criticals and attacks and stuff like that. And then for Firebolt, you get burns and fire damage, obviously. Right. Okay. Let's move on to the next thing, which is the second skill, which is Fireball. Many people are probably familiar with what Fireball is. It's a ball of fire. It explodes in a very big ball. This is also our very first blast skill that we're revealing.
It's also the very first 3 SP course.
Yes. Yes. So it's 3 SP, right? But you have realized you can pick this up at level 1.
Right. While having 2 SP, yeah.
So okay. Tell us about the skill.
So Fireball is an AoE fire. It's basically an AoE explosion that you throw, like that you target an area. So in this case, it's 15 feet lah. Correct. 15 feet within a 60 feet range. So this means anything between there lah. And then a 15 feet emanation. So in that 15 feet, everyone will need to roll a difficulty check. So this is what Spell Blast is, where Spell Blast just equates over to there's a difficulty roll, and so this is actually like the difference between the Spell Blast and the Spell Strike. Okay, not Spell Blast,
Blast and Strikes.
Blast and Strikes in general. Yeah. So strikes are you as the user of this skill rolling a 2d6
Mm.
and Blast as the receiver rolling the 2d6.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So and then in this case it's a bracket dex. So the receiver will have to roll if they can't convince otherwise, it's a dex check. Yeah.
Yep. So in a blast skill, blast situation, it's usually like some kind of like effect that the receiver has to avoid or resist, right? So this is not limited to skills. Blast rolls can also happen when, let's just say, you're trying to, like, somebody is trying to like strangle you or grapple you or whatnot, and you only have one way out, right? You can only push back against him or something like that. So that is when you have a blast roll, and a blast roll has a fixed attribute. It's always stated next to the blast. So in this case, this is a dex blast, right? Which means that the person receiving it has to roll a blast roll with dex. Now, once a blast roll, it's 2d6. Every roll is 2d6, all right? There's no other special rolls. It's all 2d6 plus your stat, right? And so, for Fireball's case, the blast roll is you shoot the fireball. There's no roll for you to shoot the fireball, and they make the blast roll to avoid the explosion, right? So there's blast, right? So look at the text. We have blast, range, spell. All right. So we know what's blast, we know what's range, we know what's a spell. Going down the line, that's 3 SP cost.
Correct.
Right. And at level 1 and 2, you only have 2 SP. What does that mean?
So I think just now you touched a bit on that, which is the long cast part.
Yep.
Yeah. So long casting is a mechanic sort of for not actually only for caster, but it's a general mechanic lah. So what it entails is you can borrow your you can start using the spell or attack, any attack, right? That is more than your stamina cost.
Yep.
And you will consume the cost. So for example, in this turn, I have 1 SP left, and then I decide to use Fireball. So I will I'll call a long cast Fireball, correct? And then I'll consume the 1 stamina right now. So that means I'm owing 2, correct? So that 2 stamina that I'm going to regain at the end of my turn will be consumed also.
Yep.
Which means the next turn, right? I will not get. I will
Any
not have
stamina
anything lah, correct? So that is the stamina portion of it. And as for how it actually works, right, is actually so like what I mentioned just now, you only use 1 stamina right now. Then it's somewhat preparation. So you are preparing to use the fireball, correct? So this means that you have already set a target. In this case, a target radius of 15 feet in the 60 feet range. Then only when you fully consume the stamina will you actually use the spell. So this means, right, you can actually miss your fireball.
Yep. So for it's not just a fireball; it's for any long caster ability, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you set a goal, right? I'm like, okay, I want to use this spell over there, right? And I don't have enough SP now, so I'm gonna start preparing to long cast this thing, and then the moment I gain the SP, it has to go off, right? Which means that there's this one turn where your enemies can actually do things, but you are committing to this right now because you're borrowing your this turn stamina and use it next turn as well. So instead of pulling next turn stamina to you, you're kind of like pushing it forward, right? So that's how you can look at it. We had this one playtest session where one of the players was level 1, right? And he only had 1 SP left, and then he started casting Fireball, right? And then the next turn, when all of the enemies charged him, he managed to let go of the Fireball, right? And then blow up everybody around him, but then he would also use a dodge roll to avoid his own Fireball. So so that those are some of the possibilities where you can like delay, you can kind of like bait enemies, or like kind of, because you don't, the game master knows what you're going to be doing, right? But thematically and if it makes sense, like monsters would charge you with your casting, right? And an additional fact that you add on for long casting is that long casting actually counts as channeling. So while you are casting this thing, people can stop you if they hit you enough, right? You can attempt to resist it with concentration, which we went through in Blade Arts 1. But generally, you are kind of leaving yourself open. Your allies might need to defend you and stuff like that, right? So that's like some of the things about SP cost that we're able to do because we have the SP system. We can play around with how do we want the SP to feel and your total amount of SP that you're using per turn, per round, in fact. Right. Is there anything else to add for this one?
For SP or
Yeah, SP.
for the spell? Okay, so for SP, right? So I mean, just now you brought up that thing, which is the one of the playtests we did that, right? So I think the key point also you have to remember is that all damage is friendly fire also.
Oh yeah.
So you have to be careful of where you pre-plan your strikes.
Yeah.
So this also means your allies have to know of it. Yeah. So it requires a bit of planning, hence the tactical part lah. Yeah.
Yep. So if he shot that up, I mean, first thing, he hit himself, right? So he had to dodge it. Right. The second thing is if his allies were still inside there, they would have been hit as well. Right. So yeah. Then let's move on to requirements. So requirements here, you require focus, yes. You also require your voice, so you must shout fireball, right? Just
this is also the first skill that we have that is voice activation.
First skill that we have revealed,
yeah,
that requires voice. A lot of spells require voice, and we have an entire mastery that requires your voice only, right? So stay tuned for that. Okay, let's look at the effect here. So we have, as you mentioned, this is a range spell. So you can select a target up to 60 feet away, then you shoot a spell. So it's a spell, yes, uses your affinity, right? And then this is a blast that your opponent makes. It's a 15 feet emanation. Okay, emanation is not something that we commonly read or hear or encounter in TTRPGs. What is emanation?
So emanation in very simplified terms is it's you select a point and the explosion the thing radiates out from that point up to the, so in this case it's 15 feet, right?
Yeah.
So you are basically actually selecting a single point and you count like 3 squares out. Because each square, I mean, assuming that each square is 5 feet lah, right? Yeah.
So single point, 15 feet everywhere in a sphere, right? Unless stated otherwise. Yeah. So in this case, it deals 9 damage, right? AoE hits multiple targets and it's very consistent. There's no damage swing here at all, pretty much. One thing that's a little bit different from Fireball in AoA compared to some other games, right? Traditionally, I'm going to use D&D here, right? Which is that when you make a saving throw, usually if they fail a saving throw, they take full damage, and if they succeed a saving throw, they take half damage, which is consistent. The difference is spell slots. They have spell slots, which means that there's a limited number of fireballs they have. We have unlimited fireballs, right? So you can throw fireballs for days, which can result in some, if it's guaranteed damage, right? It can result in skewing all of your damage one way. So this is one of the reasons why we don't have on a success to take half, right? However, the SP cost is still high here.
I think generally you also will not see like the success part on like blast skills. Yeah. Generally they'll all be a single effect types. Yeah.
Okay. Before we move on, right? One thing that should be touched on is that how do you determine how difficult is it to roll your blast roll against you as a player?
What do you mean?
So right now, yeah, they can roll a blast roll against with decks, right? But what's the number they need to beat?
So the number they need to beat is actually in your, wait, is it shown here? No, it's not shown here. It's shown in the spell, what is that thing called again? I don't remember the actual name, the real name we use here. So the affinity, spell save? No. What is it?
Blast strength.
Blast strength. Yeah. I was thinking, what is it called? Yeah. So we have this thing called blast strength that is not here. That's why. Yeah. It will be on your stat character sheet lah. So it's very easy to reference there. Yeah. Yep. So everything is just like, so in like a game experience, right? You'll be like, okay, so I cast fireball, and then my blast strength is X number, and then it's very clear to everyone that equates to me having to roll above it lah. Yeah.
So in your character sheet, when you fill up all your attributes, attributes are all modifiers, right? So they're all like +2, +1, +0, whatever, right? When you fill up these attributes, beside it, right, there's a column that says blast strength, and blast strength is simply what is the target they need to roll against you when you use that blast strength. So in this case, for Fireball, you will use your affinity. So it is your affinity blast strength. And blast strength is equal to 7 plus your attribute. Right. So if you have +2 affinity, then it will be 9. So he has to meet or beat 9.
That also equates over to if you have -2.
If you have -2, yes, it is 7 -2. That's right.
Yeah.
So don't use blast that you don't have the stats for, basically. Right. Okay. And yeah, so that's for Fireball. Let's move on to the next skill. All right. So this is we're just going down the line here. Next one is Burning Ground. Okay. First channel skill. Right. What is this?
So this is very similar to like what happens if I set the floor on fire. Correct. So what that translated over here is actually similarly to Fireball, is like you set a location that is 15 feet wide. Emanation, yes. Then that ground is now considered like a burning ground. Yeah. Then so this is actually what I mentioned, what I said when I say that you're setting the ground on fire. So the effect is actually burn 2. Burn 2.
Burn 2, yeah. Okay. So let's start from the top, right? So Burning Ground is the name. It's a blast, it's channel, and it's a spell. Channel is better explained when we get to the actual effect itself, right? Because we have more information there. It's a spell, yes. SP cost is 2, right? So if you're level 1 or 2, that's all your SP. If you're level 3, that's 2 of your 3 SP. Okay. It requires flame rank 2, which means you spend 2 points into flame. Uses a focus. Mastery point cost of 1. And why is there one spacing here between? Yeah, so I'm missing one spacing between MP cost and effect. I need to fix that. Okay, now that we're on the effect. This is pretty interesting. So channel is a tag that this is the first time you'll see it. It's also not very common. We don't have many default channel spells. I think there's only like Frost. That's about it.
Frost and
I think it's just Frost.
I think just Frost.
Yeah, I think it's just Frost. Yeah. So for the basic set, there's only Flame and Frost, which has channel spells. Okay. So what's channel?
So channel is kind of recasting, but cheaper. So this is denoted by in the effect, right? There will be a channel, the channel tag, and then there'll be the bracket XSP. So in this case, it's 1. So what that means, right, is your first cast will cost 2 stamina point, but to keep reusing it, right, to keep it like sort of alive, it's only 1 stamina point.
Yep.
So this also means, right, if you decide to stop channeling, right, the effect on the ground actually is removed. So you don't get this effect anymore, and the next time you want to cast Burning Ground, it costs 2 again instead of like 1, and not the recasting part lah. Yeah.
So the way this will like function in a combat scenario would be you're the fire wizard, right? And then Burning Ground, bam, 15 feet emanation within 30 feet. So you set this patch on fire. The first time you cast it, it costs 2 stamina points, right? And then they will do their spell blast, they have to avoid the fire, or they're set on fire, right? And then they will take 2 damage every single scene turn in that round. Upon failing, they take 2, and then at the scene turn, they take 2, right? Now, next round, it is your turn again. I want to maintain this Burning Ground. I need to spend 1 stamina to cast the spell again. So this do the same thing. I can move it, I can keep it the same place, and I can apply another stack of 2 burn if the guys don't move out lah. And if they fail, they'll take 2 burn damage and another 2 on their scene turn, right? If I choose not to spend my 1 stamina point here to channel, it also means that the spell ends, right? So this up to 1 minute thing is you can channel this spell up to 1 minute. The Burning Ground does not last for 1 minute by default. Then it wouldn't be a channel spell anymore, right? So
I think there's also an important point here where you have to take note that the burn 2 does not get removed if you stop channeling.
Yes.
So I think that
this takes on the burning condition tag, right?
Yeah.
Which is that burns don't get removed until you put it out.
Correct.
Right.
So you can throw a burning ground and then cancel it, and they still get burned.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. So if they were already burned and you're like, okay, that's good enough for me, then you just cancel your burning ground and then you don't need to continue doing it anymore. So it's a very reliable, like consistent way to just apply a 2 burn onto everybody. If they don't succeed, obviously. Right. One more caveat here is that channeling, right, also counts as you requiring concentration. So the channel property, which you can see in the rulebook, it won't be here, is that when you're channeling, you need to maintain concentration. There's only so many channel spells you can have while you are concentrating, and if someone attacks you, you have to make a concentration roll, right, which is to avoid breaking your concentration. And same thing, same roll, 2d6, but this time you add your vigor, right? So that is a channel, and that's burning ground. Is there anything else you want to add here?
It's very straightforward actually.
Yeah.
So I think this was the one skill that we changed multiple times over the creation. So I think this went through like 3 or 4 iterations. This was the most, because
I feel like we keep changing the number.
It was either too strong or too weak. I think at one point it was like doing like 4. Okay, so burn is actually relatively new also lah. So burn actually came in when we were redesigning this skill like the 3rd time ish. So when we had so back then when we first started the creation process, right, we already had 3 skills. So actually it was just firebolt, and burning ground.
Yeah. So these are the first 3 skills we designed for the flame mastery.
Correct. So back then we didn't have burning.
Yeah.
Right? Burning was a relatively new thing before we even started on like the 4th and 5th skill. Yeah. So it was actually what made burning ground make sense. So before that burning ground was just like, it felt like a shitty firebolt or overpowered fireball.
Yeah, it was either like a really good consistent fireball or a really bad fireball.
Yeah, and then basically everything else didn't change. Like stamina cost didn't change, like the requirement didn't change. Right? The effect was the one that was consistently changing. And then when we decided to do like burning as a condition, so I think this was a conversation that we had, which is like, how do we actually want to do conditions? So that conversation led up to like creating burning as the condition. As a condition. So in the future we will have like different conditions.
No, bleed, poison, whatever.
Yeah, all those lah, correct. So it will follow actually the same rule set that we have right now for burn.
I think one of the other things that changed was the way that channel works. So the very first iteration of channel was that all channel spells had a really high SP cost, and then they would just last until you broke concentration. That's very powerful.
There wasn't the recasting cost thing.
It's kind of insane because you don't have spell slots, right? Which means that, I broke, cast it again. Right? So that got out of hand very quickly. And the other thing is that, like, even if you do a little bit of fire damage every single round, is that really burning ground? Like, it's just taking damage,
It's just a firebolt.
Yeah, just taking the guy a little bit every round, right? So,
and especially, I think the main issue we had back then was because fire. Okay, I mean, most magical spells do not have armor penetration. So this make burning ground, we had to like tune it really strong for it to even make sense, or it become too weak because it just get negated by like that one armor guy.
Yeah, because you can imagine, right? Like, burning ground has to be low damage because it's consistent AoE everywhere, right? But if someone has like 2 armor, and based on the original design for burning ground, which was he took like 2 damage, you would just walk on his fire, basically. Like, this thing does nothing to you, straight up. That still applies to certain skills, don't get me wrong, but those skills do a little bit more than 2 damage.
There's other effect, but minimum burning ground was just you take 2 fire damage every time you enter or leave the area, or stays in the area. So it was very weird.
It was a very weird place where it was too easy to avoid all damage. It's still possible to avoid all burning ground damage. There are ways to do it, but it's no longer basically free, right?
Like, you have to plan around it now.
You actually have to put some, like, a little bit of investment into doing so, right? Okay, and that is burning ground. So now we're going to start getting into some of the weirder skills, right? A little bit more unique. Okay, let's start with this one. This comes with 2 parts.
Right.
So this is our first enchantment boon spell that we're revealing, and this is a flame enchant, right? Ooh, a lot of shit's new here. Where do we start?
We start with the spell itself. Yeah.
Okay. So flame enchant. Name flame enchant. Yes. 3 tags here, 2 of which I've never seen before. Boon. And okay, no, I think we saw Boon. We saw Boon before. Boon was on Deliverance, right?
Yeah.
Enchant, right? The way that this boon works is quite different from Deliverance, right? So it is enchant and that is a spell. Okay. This is a spell, it's a skill type. SP cost is 3. So this is it's pretty high cost, similar to Fireball. Flame 3, which means you have spent 3 points in the flame mastery. This requires your voice. Right, so you might notice Burning Ground does not require a voice, but Flame Enchant does. So when you enchant someone's weapon with fire, you have to say Flame Enchant, right? And then now we go on to MP cost 1, and then the effect. Okay. 2 new tags here, right? So enchant a weapon, you can touch with Flame Enchantment, right? So Flame Enchantment here is in italics because it's a name, and it's the name of the spell token, right, which is below. We'll get to that later. And then you can only have 1 weapon enchanted with this spell at any point in time. So I can't go around enchanting multiple people's items.
There's something else for that.
Yep. But you might also notice there's no duration on this. So okay, let's start with what is an enchant.
So enchant is, I mean, in the text is a boon, so it's a buff, right, for whoever that this is used on, or what it was used on in this case, correct? So enchant does quite a bit more effect, so we will talk about it later. And it's, I think the key, the most important point is it is never ending, and it has no removal. You can't remove it unless the initial caster or like the casted guy says no. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Or it's slain.
No, it's slain,
yeah. So in this case here, it is enchant a weapon. So certain enchantment spells require specific targets. So in this case, Flame Enchant only enchants weapons. Now, what is a weapon? Technically, a lot of things can be weapons. And then the second part is you can touch. So this could be with your staff, this could be with your hand, as long as you can touch the thing, right? And enchants, as mentioned, last forever until otherwise stated, right? There is one more caveat to enchantments in general, which is that enchantments, right? Items have a maximum number of enchants, which is 1. You can only have 1 enchant per weapon. Yes, per item, right? Not just weapon. So each item can only have 1 enchantment on at any point in time. So maybe I have a flame enchant here, and then I have another enchant there. The moment you put another enchant over your weapon, it loses the original enchant, right?
It replaces the
it replaces the previous one. So you can kind of think about it like if there was some like weird situation where your enemy has a weapon enchanted and you have an enchant spell, you can go override his enchantment, right? So that is a possibility, right? So okay, and that is the flame enchant here. In this case, so this is one of the first skills we have that has a token card, right? The reason is that I cast flame enchant, right? But the person who had their weapon enchanted or my weapon needs to know what the effect is. So you pass the actual flame enchantment card to the other person or put it under your weapon. So enchantment cards are a little different. I don't have the enchantment card itself, but I do have an example of what equip effect looks like. So let me just add this right here. So image. Okay. I think this one, I just made this yesterday. This one, yeah. Okay. Ooh, how big is this thing? Where's my zoom?
Okay, not that big.
Pretty big. It's out of the scene. Yeah. So compared to this one? Yes, compared to this card, right? So you'll notice that okay, this is not an enchantment card to be clear. This is a magical item card, right? But what happens is that you might notice that there's a little like golden area at the bottom that is flushed all the way to the edge of the card. So what this does, right, is that this weapon is meant to be slotted. Well, let me see if I can do that. I think I can do that here.
You can do it,
Yeah. So
okay, yeah.
did I lock it? I locked it.
Just to be clear also, these are all still work in progress, so some things might still change.
Yeah.
But
right.
this whole idea of like stacking, like, how do you call it?
What, the card?
I was gonna say docking, no, it's not docking. I guess just stacking lah.
Yeah.
So stacking over the thing, right? It's a way where we are able to do because we are doing cards and stuff like that. Yeah.
So this is one of those things that because we're a physical card, right? Might as well design it that way. So in this case, right? So this is a magical weapon, and then the weapon has a special effect, right? Ignore the requirement because the requirements are seem to have met. Right. So now you will attach this thing here. And so now when you use the above skill, which is a martial skill, right, you would add the bonus effects below. Right. And so in the same way, when you have a flame enchantment, you add another one below the weapon, and then you put this weapon below that. And so you can start to see like there will be some like pretty crazy like synergies that are immediately obvious from just your cards alone. When you put them together, you'll be like, whoa, that's a lot of effects. Right. So yeah, this is a sneak peek into one of the magical weapons. Right. And so now let's go to Flame Enchant, right? And Flame Enchant is the enchantment that you get when you cast Flame Enchant onto another weapon. And so what does it do? Right.
So in the dictionary lah, correct. So it does. So what it does is it changes the weapon damage type. So just now you were talking about it, which is like most weapon does like physical damage.
Yep.
Right? So in this case, if your weapon is suddenly flame enchanted, it is now doing flame damage instead. No,
Fire damage.
Fire damage instead. Sorry. Yeah. So what that means is like, so if you pull up the question card.
Which one? This one.
So this one, right? So for example, right, you're wielding it one-handed, so you're doing like 3/3, right?
Yep.
So previously you still be doing 3/3, don't get me wrong, but now it'll be 3/3 but fire damage type.
Yep.
Alright. So now it gets affected by resistance and stuff like that. Yeah.
But it also, if someone's weak to fire,
you're doing double the damage.
Right.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
Yes. Sneaking into weakness. Yes. So you might also notice, right? It says skills, not strikes, not blasts, skills. So if you were to use like a weapon that has both blasts and strikes, now all of it does fire damage. Right. So that's the first part. Second part is strikes with this weapon deal burn 1.
So using the crusher card as example again, base you're doing 3/3 and a burn 1.
Yes.
Correct.
Baseline.
Just succeeding gives you the burn 1 already.
Correct.
So what that means is you can actually, this is actually a secondary firebolt that gets a good success on like anyone. In that sense, you can treat it that way. It helps you to spread the fire.
So in practice, right? So what this does is that, let's just say this is used on the Savage Bash right here, right? So Savage Bash does with one-handed 3/3 on a success, right? So when you add the burn 1, this essentially deals 1 additional damage. Because burn is applied on application. So every time you hit, you just deal 1 more damage, and it gets 1 more at every round on the scene turn. Right, so it is a very consistent, very efficient damage here. It also sets the guy on fire. So if you need to set someone on fire, you need to start a fire for your campfire, you know, like you need a torch. There are many applications that you can have with flame enchantment here.
So I think that brings up to the last point, where the weapon's on fire.
Yes.
So what that means is when you need a torch or like a light source, just bring out your weapon that's enchanted.
Set it on fire. Right? Yes, but it also means your weapon is on fire lah. So if you were to push on your back, shift on your side, then you're on fire, right? So be careful how you hold a flaming sword, right? Better ask your wizard to disenchant it first. So yeah, so that's flame enchantment. Another thing that you might want to note is flame enchantment doesn't state what kind of weapon you have to enchant, right? It says weapon. That means you can enchant bows. You can enchant anything.
Which brings us back to the example of the soul shot.
Yep.
So what that means is actually every arrow that you fire is now fire damage and do burn 1.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So you can imagine if you're an archer and you're firing multiple arrows and from a very far distance. So like fireball only has 60 feet, but a bow can shoot much further, right? And so that means that you can set people on fire from a much further distance. Now you might be thinking, you just flame enchant, someone else can enchant me too. Haha. See, I haven't got to the next spell yet. Right. So let me turn this off. And then let me turn this off because we have no more space. And I'm gonna put no, not this one. Not this one. This one. That is our very last spell and our pinnacle spell for flame, which is Wildfire.
This is. I remember when we were designing this, when I first mentioned this idea, we were like, will this be way too broken?
This has the potential to be very, 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 very strong.
I remember this was the one skill that we were always consistently looking at it, and then every playtest session we are hoping that someone actually breaks the thing.
Yeah.
But nobody ever get close to it, so it's like, is it okay?
It's quite... It's potentially very strong, but there's a lot of setup to it.
Theoretical damage was like insane.
Yeah.
Correct? But practically it requires like a very coordinated effort. Yeah.
So okay, before we jump that,
before we go to that,
let's start with what this skill is. So Wildfire is the pinnacle skill for Flame Mastery for the basic set. Requires Flame rank 4, which is you have bought every other spell already. Right. The only tag you have here is spell. Right, because it's a spell. You just do the thing. There's no roll, there's no nothing, you just do it. Right. But does it do anything by itself? No. Right. So that's that. That's because of 2. Right. Requires a focus. Yes. And because of 1, and the effect is you mark a target within 5 feet of you. So you have to be near the guy, right? With a Wildfire brand. At the end of your turn. Right. So this is the player's turn. Right. The brand explodes, dealing 5 damage. So this 5 damage, right, is not many instances of 5. It's one very big 5 damage per hit of fire damage taken by the target this turn. Which is your turn, right? So this is not round, this is not what, this is you guys have a coordinated team plan to hit the player as many times as possible with fire damage. Player. It could be a player. It could be a player. Oh, just to add on, so I missed the question there just now. Yes, the flame enchant works with blast. Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
So if you enchant the weapon,
I think, but the key point is you have to note that the blast is not affected by the burn. It's only strikes.
Yes, correct. So only strikes with the weapon applies the burn.
Your blast is still getting the damage type.
Yes, the fire damage.
But it's not getting the burn.
Yep. Yeah. So it's just a damage conversion if it's just a blast.
And your weapon is glowing.
Yes. But a fun note is that a Reeve, which is the AoE cleave on Blade Arts, it's a strike. So yes, you can still AoE burn the guy. So it's very powerful with
certain
with
combinations,
swords, which is why it was the suggested weapon combo. So okay, now Wildfire, right? So per instance of fire damage, this +5 number stacks constantly, right? So there's a bunch of problems here, which is that you have to spend 2 SP to cast Wildfire first, and then you need people to actually put in stacks of fire damage. Burn counts as a stack of fire damage itself, but it happens on a scene turn, so you have to apply as many stacks of burn damage, right? So by yourself as a single character, it's not super efficient. But once you have some help from your teammates, and especially if everybody has a source of fire damage, Wildfire can get really wild.
It can one shot.
Yes, it can get really, really, really wild.
So
right.
I mean, like what you mentioned, it costs 2 SP, right? So that means you only have 1 SP left over. Correct. And if you long cast anything, Wildfire doesn't work.
Yes.
Because it happens on your next turn.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, at the end of your turn, the long cast happens.
The long cast, the effect of long cast is next turn, but Wildfire is this turn. So it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
But the possibilities are pretty massive. So
and you also can't long cast into a Wildfire because what long casted spells goes off at the start of your turn.
Yeah. Correct. So but if you're wearing cloth armor, there are some ways around it, and if you have Beyond, which is you get to spend your entire staminas, this turn stamina again, right? There are some crazy possibilities that you can have. And so let's kind of like, let's theory craft a little bit some of the possibilities of Wildfire, right? So let's just say, by the time you have Wildfire, you're at least level 3, right? Because it's a rank 4 skill. which means you have already spent 4 points, and then this is your 5th point. So you have spent your minimum level 3, right?
Which means you have 3 SP also.
Which means you have 3 SP, right? And so you cast Wildfire and you have 1 SP left. Okay, that's not a lot. So let's just say someone else in your party also has fire magic and they have enchanted a weapon. You have enchanted a weapon, right? So now you have a minimum of 4 players who have some source of fire damage, right? If you do one attack and you burn, another player does one attack and they burn, right? That's already 4 instances of fire damage. That's already 20 damage. Now, if for some reason the other 2 guys land all of their stamina points with small little strikes, that's another
7 or 8.
12 instances of fire damage? Yes, 12 instances of fire damage, right? So now we're talking about 16. That's 80 fire damage in a single strike. But that also requires all 4 players to be doing fire damage, right?
And willing on a single guy.
And succeeding.
Yeah.
Right. There's always that caveat, right? Which is that you have to succeed your actual spell. Right. So the possibilities of Wildfire is really wild and is really crazy. But yes, it's a high cost, high reward skill. And yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add for Wildfire?
Nothing outside of like we want to see how it explodes. Literally, correct. So like we want to see like what are the wild combination that the community can do with this certain like this specific spell and like what combination that comes up from this lah.
Yeah. So do share if you think that there's like any as we share more on the masteries, right? You see a skill and you're like, oh, that works really well with Wildfire and things like that, right? And it's not just Wildfire. There'll be a lot of other synergistic skills because all of our skills are designed to be as synergistic as possible. So as seen from Flame Enchantment, seen from Burning and Stacking and whatnot, right? So that is one of our core goals, which is multi-mastery combinations and creating your own fantasy, right? And so with that is all we have for Flame Mastery today, right? Let me see. Is there anything else? Cut. No. Okay. And so, do we have anything else to add for Flame Mastery in general?
Nothing outside of it being burning.
It's hot.
Yeah,
right?
It's hot.
Yeah. So, okay. That is all for today's deep dive into Flame Mastery. We will be going through more masteries as the weeks go by. We'll try to keep it on the same day every week, at the same time. The next one we're doing is probably in the specialist side, so look forward to that. Eventually, hopefully, we'll cover everything before the Kickstarter launches so that everybody can see what the types of masteries are available and what combinations you might want to start planning out as we launch the thing for the basic set. Right. So just as a reminder, every mastery has 5 skills. Does not mean 5 cards, as you can see from Enchantment. It has 5 skills.
Minimum 5 cards.
Minimum 5 cards, yes. Minimum 5 cards. Probably more than 5 cards.
Yeah.
I think just about everybody has more than 5 cards.
No lah.
Marshals don't have more than 5 cards.
Marshals, yeah.
Everybody else has more than 5 cards. Right. We'll also be covering racial masteries, but because racial masteries and armor masteries don't have 5 skills, so we'll probably cluster them all into a single session instead and go through all of them at once or split them into maybe like 2 sessions. Right. And yeah, that's the plan going forward for now, right? Unless anything changes.
Okay. Or we start doing like 2-hour streams.
Yeah, that's crazy. Right, this is already 1 hour. And okay, and so thank you for joining us today for the 6th episode of Tiny Table Talk, our deep dive into Flame Mastery. I'm John.
I'm Taeyang.
And we are signing out.